good evening, good afternoon rather. So, I already had a cold this week when I woke up this morning with a very sore neck, hence the hot compress warping my proportions. Whatever. So I've been trying to distract myself. I played a bit of the Game Gear just earlier. I couldn't. I bought a European adapter, Euro to UK plug adapter, and then found that the European Sega plug actually it says Master System 2 on it, so maybe that might be the reason. It doesn't work. So I actually, thankfully, I got it working using an ordinary 9 volt, 9 volt input, output, whatever, plug, which actually is for guitar pedal, Boss. Had that lying around and I don't use it because I have one of these multi-input power thing. Doesn't matter. Anyway, got it working. Turns out the machine itself, the Game Gear, is so as well as probably being a bit broken by old batteries. Where's the bit? You can sort of see that like erosion there, or that kind of battery dusty stuff, as well as being damaged by batteries going old in here, being in there for years, such that it, I suspect, will not work even if you put batteries in it. It works with the power cable, but not with battery. Well, the screen is really you really can't see it unless, so if I look at it straight on, even with the brightness all the way up, this brightness thing, I've really got to tilt it to see it, which was very uncomfortable today because I was straining my neck. And the sound is incredibly quiet, and it's not, in fact, I don't think any sound comes out of it, but even if I put headphones on, or indeed through the headphone port, put the sound through these like studio monitors I have, it was incredibly meager amount of sound. So it's a limited piece of kit at the moment, but using the idea that the power adapter itself, this Sega one, was broken, has made me rethink whether or not the Game Gear that I have at home in Edinburgh is in fact broken as I believed it to be. So I'm going to pick that up and see if it still works. It might actually end up working better than this one. Anyway, so I'm going to do like part 2, I suppose, of I suppose it's a collection rundown. Not that my collection is really that impressive at the moment. It's just nor is the intention to impress. Not quite sure what the intention is yet. That's what sounds pretentious, but I'm exploring that as I do it. But yeah, looking again through the Game Boy drawer, and it is a drawer for reasons besides practical ones. That this was a space I had to put Game Boy games in. I think I will keep Game Boy games in a drawer like this. The reason being, there's this shop in Edinburgh. It's still there. I used to go there a lot when I was younger. It's called Games Exchange. It's on Leith Walk, and it was a mostly, well, at the time I was going, PlayStation 1 was still current. So I suppose at the time they had retro stuff, but it wasn't necessarily the majority of what they sold. whereas now they still stock all the stuff they used to stock to a large extent. Their PlayStation 1 stock hasn't diminished. And the same goes for, their PlayStation 2 stuff, such that the proportion of what they stock and sell that is current, that are current games, is probably in the minority now. And they always sold unboxed Game Boy games, and they kept them in a drawer in this like metal filing cabinet. A drawer no deeper than this, but they just, you'd ask for it, they'd bring it out. They still do this. And you could rifle through it, and they were dirt cheap. And there was always great stuff. Like, there was always, the Generation 1 Pokemon games, there would always be some of them kicking around. Even as late, like, I remember like 10 years ago, I was actually doing some recording at a studio. Or was I? I was at a rehearsal, actually. That's the truth. I was at a rehearsal over 10 years ago, probably now. No, about 10 years ago. Anyway, I was at a rehearsal down at Bottom Leaf Walk, and I decided to kind of walk back, and this was the first time I'd been to the shop in years and years and years then, and even then there was some good stuff in the drawer. I got Pokemon Fire Red then. Now I'm thinking about the timing again as well, because I don't remember when that game came out, but it doesn't matter. It was old at the time that I'm talking about, whenever that was. I have been in since recently, and it's not, the stuff they've got in that drawer is not as good. It's not as much interesting there, but maybe it's more variable than I'm imagining. Maybe they do still get the odd good thing coming through, and good, interesting, that's subjective, as we'll see from a couple of the games I have in here. Probably at least one particularly is interesting to me for purely personal reasons. Anyway, so I kind of like the drawer thing, just having them like kicking about willy-nilly. That's fun to me. I like it. It's got that association for me. Yeah, and that's the story. So let's see what else I've got in here. Already talked about this. I've taken everything out that I covered in the last video, just so I'm not wasting too much time. The Game Boy adapter. I don't have any more to say about this at the moment. I talked in the other video about binging AVGN a little bit since I've not been feeling very well, and he talks about the 4-player adapter in his Game Boy accessories video, and makes pretty much the same comment as I was making to myself. I mean, what opportunity are you going to have to use that? I'd like to find out what games are compatible with it, but what's the point? That's not the reason I have it. I'm not afraid to confess. Tetris again. I forgot about that because I've got like 100 copies. Columns and columns. I played a tiny bit of this earlier when I was using the Game Gear, and this is obviously a Tetris-like game. I'm not aware of what came first in terms of these forms of games. I always imagined that it never occurred to me that Tetris might be the first, because I wouldn't really have ever thought of Columns as a Tetris rip-off, because it's different. It is different. More like, Bejeweled or something. It's obviously a lot more modern. But the music, I'm really surprised to find the music has this like Eastern European kind of, God, that's probably really ignorant, not from like an offense point of view, but just like not accurate. It has a flavour to the music that really does sound a bit Tetris-y, and there's this kind of architectural background that is reminiscent of Tetris. I was kind of surprised to find that So there is a wee bit of a, more so than the gameplay, just the tone of it is kind of aping Tetris in a way that I'd forgotten or hadn't really expected. 2 Super Mario Land games I've talked about, and since I've become kind of more precious about sort of the condition of these cartridges, you know, one can't help but notice that the colour on Super Mario Land is so much more vibrant than Super Mario Land 2, the label. Kind of sad that that is supposedly important to me now, but we'll see. DuckTales I've talked about. Quirk. I don't have anything to say about this. It's one of the games I got from my grandparents' house. So, same for Harmony. Now, Link's Awakening DX. So this was always the, pretty sure this was always the version of this game I played. The Game Boy Color version, basically. And, so, you know, essentially this is the one I have the association with. But there are copies, I've seen copies of Link's Awakening turn up quite common, quite often. It's pretty common. You know, they're ordinary Link's Awakening. And, you know, I really like Game Boy games. I like how they look. I think, you know, I was too, the NES was too early for me. And gaming was a bit more colourful by the time I was playing, I was around, you know, basically. So Game Boy was kind of the one thing that had all, you know, it had all this grey. The Game Boy cartridges they're so grey. They're very like NES cartridges. I know that Super Nintendo cartridges are pretty grey as well, but there's something really, like, you say retro, but almost kind of antique-y, like pretty dated looking, but in a kind of almost cool way. I'm sort of trying to tell a causal story of why they appeal to me. Don't know if that holds up, but I find myself being almost more interested in Link's Awakening original than the DX version. I mean, I have this, so it's not a thing I don't have to be interested in. But it kind of runs counter to my reasons for collecting games, which is to an extent to recollect. Pun not intended on recollect, but there's an element of that as well. You know, that's something I'm interested in going back to, which, you know, was not the original experience of mine, which I've mentioned before. This is a fan favorite. It's beloved. It's excellent. Obviously. Yeah. I'll do. See, I wouldn't be surprised to find I have the least to say about the most unanimously loved games. Now, here's maybe a good example of that. One of the only Game Boy Color cartridges in my collection at the moment. This will... Maybe it's not... Well, anyway. Harry Potter and it is the Philosopher's Stone here. So I kind of hate Harry Potter. Not really the thing itself, but Edinburgh, where I'm from, has in the last few years, lights gone off. has in the last few years, I feel like it's become a bit of a Harry Potter circus theme park. So I resent Harry Potter. I resent J.K. Rowling. And although that's for reasons other than the books themselves, I was never, a Harry Potter fan. I did read the books, but beyond that, I wasn't super into the movies. I didn't see all of them. I only saw a couple of them. And it's always puzzled me that Harry Potter has this kind of fandom, what a horrible word. This, people are into Harry Potter in a way that is not just enjoying the books. That has always surprised me about Harry Potter for some reason. You get that with lots of things. Video games, cartoons, and things like that. But for some reason, it's always surprised me with Harry Potter. That there's this whole kind of industry surrounding it that people and people who are really into it will kind of buy into that. And I don't mean that critically, really. I was definitely never one of those people. But at the time that this came out, I did buy this game. I was young, I was stupid. And I've not gone back to play it properly yet. But I don't think they really made another Harry Potter game like this. There certainly wasn't. I'm pretty sure there wasn't a direct sequel to this game in terms of this style of game. It's an RPG. It's a pretty ordinary turn-based RPG. There's a card collecting aspect to it, I believe, but it's not, card battle style in the way of like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or I suppose like Pokemon trading card game on the Game Boy, or even, and this shows how few kind of card-based RPGs I've played, but one of the only other ones I can think of that I've played is Mega Man Battle Network thing, which is only kind of semi-card based, kind of an action-y RPG. Interesting game, actually. I'd really like to get that again. And I saw this in Cash Converters like a few months ago, and I felt kind of embarrassed about going up and asking to buy it, but it was dirt cheap, and I really do have a nostalgic connection to this game. I played it quite a lot. There was a New Game Plus option on it. In fact, it wasn't just didn't just carry over the things you collected in your first playthrough, but I think kind of maxed out your abilities for the second playthrough. Irrespective of how much you collected in the first playthrough, you would end up with more, probably, in the New Game Plus option. I'd like to stream at some point, I think, and I've kind of been, with the idea in my head that I will stream at some point, even if just for my own, seeing what that's like. I'm kind of saving this for that, because I don't really know, I don't remember clearly enough this game to explain why it has an appeal. Obviously, I played it at a certain age. That can sometimes be usually is enough to support nostalgia, yes, but I suppose it's maybe pretentious of me, but I always like to think that there's something slightly more than nostalgia about, I suppose, my feeling for certain games. I'd like to believe it's selective and it's not an almost, kind of a self-important angle I like to put on my nostalgia for all games, Anyway, this is one that I'm like, maybe there was something interesting about it. Maybe not, in which case I just like it because I played it once. God, this is a real ramble, isn't it? It's almost 20 minutes already. A bunch of memory cards in here, which I'm certainly not going to talk about. They don't belong in the drawer. That's not part of the memory. Have I run out of juice? Have I run out of a desire to talk about these things? I think I have. I think I've successfully distracted myself from my sore neck and sufficiently wasted any viewers' time. Not that I think there are any.